What's going on, folks? Well, here we are, getting ready for Fabrication Friday.
I'm a whiskey drinking SOB. If you don't like that, then you won't like me. I'm an outlaw. I said I'm an outlaw.
Good news and bad news for Fabrication Friday. The good news is we are going to have a Fabrication Friday. The bad news is I'm going to do it from the house today versus going to the shop. And things are a little bit on the limited side here. I just barely keep the bare necessities of stuff that I need to work on the roadster and stuff like that. So what we're working with is just leftover pieces from when the roadster was being built. And so this is going to be a two-part episode. First part is going to be that I'm basically going to run over with you just the small tools and stuff that I use. The bare essentials, what you would need to be able to accomplish what we're going to accomplish. Again, for Fabrication Friday, we want to keep in mind that we're not using any plasma cutters, no torches, no CNC stuff, anything like that. We're going to be making some badass parts with bare essentials. A 4.5-inch grinder, cutting disc, flapper disc, stuff like that. Not really going into a whole lot of, we're trying to keep this for the average Joe Blow hobbyist, even though I make a full-time business out of this. We're basically going to start off the way I did about 15 years ago when I first got into building cars for myself, and then slowly but surely learned some more stuff and got into doing it, I guess you would say, professionally. So that's basically what Fabrication Friday is going to be about, is just doing stuff the old school way, making some really cool parts and not dwelling into the high dollar tools that a lot of people use to make these badass parts. We're going to go low budget and just make cool stuff. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and move on to Fabrication Friday. What we're going to be doing for Fabrication Friday is I have at the shop a 1923 T-bucket body, Ford T-bucket body, and a 2x3 rectangular tubing frame that we fabricated about a year or so ago. We just threw it together real quick. The actual plan was to sell the body in a frame, make it easier for somebody, but I really didn't push selling it very hard, so we still have it. So we're going to go ahead and start building it. It's kind of a back-burnered project, so the Fabrication Friday is going to help us push to do some stuff on it and to make it progress basically. So that's going to be our little subject that we're going to work on. We're going to build stuff like today. The frame is made out of 2x3 square tubing. The front cross member, I don't remember what the dimension of it is, but it's made out of a round tube. We'll dwell into this a little bit more later, but the round tube is welded into the square tube. Basically your frame rails run this way, round tube is welded in this way. So what I'm making today is going to be sort of a fish plate, but it really doesn't serve much of a purpose because there's nothing there that it's helping structure. It's more of a design character. I did the same thing on my roadster, basically just off the end of the square tubing. We just made a fish plate that ran back, comes out this way a little bit further, and then it's got a nice little sweep in it that runs back up to the top. It's welded to the outside of the frame rail. Again, like I said, it's not really much of a structure piece. It's a pretty piece more than anything. So I figured that'd be one of probably the easiest things for us to make here at the house, with very limited to what we do have as in materials and supplies, etc. At the shop I keep numerous stacks of cutting disc. I keep sanding disc on hand, a lot of them. We got a lot of material on hand at the shop, metal wise. Just the supply is better at the shop than what I have here at the house. I think here at the house I have like 2 cutting discs, maybe 1 sanding disc, And then material wise, metal wise, I just have what I've grabbed from the shop to make a little small piece for the roadster or whatever. So let's go ahead and move on into that. I'm gonna grab the camera, go over here, and I've got everything set up on a table, the basic tools that we're gonna use for this project. I'm gonna run over what everything is, the importance of it, etc. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't come out too shaky. I'm basically holding the GoPro in my hand, so with no kind of suspension on it or anything like that. So hopefully it doesn't come out too shaky. So here's everything that we're basically going to use. We've got a piece of 2x3 down here that's going to represent our frame for making this part. That's irrelevant at this point. So I guess the very most important thing on this table is going to be a good set of safety glasses. You can pick up safety glasses pretty much anywhere. Hell, I think even Home Depot and Lowe's and stuff like that sell safety glasses. In fact, I know they do. They sell expensive ones, they sell cheap ones, whatever. These are basically just some mid-grade ones. They are 3M, very lightly tinted. They help with the little bit of a tint. Surprisingly helps with light aspects, where you can actually be able to see a little bit better in certain lighting, rather than, I don't know, cuts the glare, I guess you would say. Secondly, is going to be a good pair of gloves. I'm not a very big person on when it comes to wearing gloves and stuff like that. I feel that it inhibits me. But I do highly recommend it because, again, you're working with power tools and you know, you can lose a finger or something like that. At least a glove gives you some sort of a little bit of protection. I would say probably my next most important one is going to be you know, utensils for writing and stuff. We got a regular ballpoint pen, got a marker, a Sharpie marker, and a piece of soapstone. Tape measure, cutting disc, flapper disc, grinder tool, grinder, straight edge. That pretty much sums everything up that's here on the table. As we progress into this, I'll show you a little bit more how to do with what we had to do it, how to do it, and how to do it, and how to do it. And excuse my blah, 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 but I walked past it. So there's basically what we got on the table. Now, what I'm gonna do is I highly recommend, I've always stuck real heavy to this, and I highly recommend this to everybody. This piece right here, all it is a card stock piece of paper. Poster board works great. I don't like to use cardboard, like as in broken down boxes and stuff. It just gets too thick and it's hard to deal with. Myself, generally, if I'm gonna make a bunch of stuff, we keep a lot of this on hand at the shop. If I'm gonna make a bunch of stuff, I'll go to the dollar store and buy the thickest cardstock poster board I can for like under $1, and I'll buy 10, 15, 20 sheets of it. They're a little under 3 foot long by a little under 2 foot wide, maybe a little over 2 foot wide. So you can make a lot of parts out of one piece of poster board. But back to what I was saying is, I always recommend make the part out of paper first. Once you've got it made out of paper, transfer it over to your piece of metal. Basically just lay it on it. We're going to call the cardboard part that we're going to make a template. It's probably the proper name for it. Lay your template over your metal. You're going to trace it out with the soapstone, and then come in and cut it out, whittle it out, eat it out with your teeth, whatever you want to do. I'm going to show up to the point of cutting because I don't have but a little chunk of material here. So I'm not going to do a cut work on this little piece of material. We'll wait until next Friday and we'll cut the pieces out and finalize them, finish them, etc. So basically all we're doing here is we're going to learn how to make a template and how to transfer it over to a piece of metal. And that's it. We'll do the cut work next Friday. Okay, sound good? Well, I'm going to get started on my template, and I'll pick camera back up once I got template drawn out, and we will go from there. Okay, so here's my template that I have made. So what I basically did is I took and measured my piece of 2x3 right here. Oh hell, I can't get the yardstick far enough over because it gets in the way of the roadster. But from 12 to 15 is roughly 3 inches. We know this. We basically know some mathematics. So we know that it's 3 inches tall. Our template's going to lay down the side of the frame. Oops, sorry about the finger in there. We know the template's going to lay down the side of the frame. So I basically made me a mark at 3 inches, made me another mark out here in the middle, made me another mark here, line it up, drew a line. That represents my frame rail, okay? Now my piece that I'm gonna make is basically 2 inches from here to this line. Okay, so that means it's gonna move 2 inches down the frame before it starts into this sweep. And the overall run of it from here is 6 inches to there. So there's my bottom start. I freehanded this curve. It's seeing how this is all mine and there is no rules behind it. I just basically freehanded the curve. I'm going to cut it the way I want to cut it, and when I change it over into metal, I'll address for it to look better or cleaner or whatever. So that's basically my template. I'm going to cut my template out now, and once I get my template cut out, we will go ahead. Excuse me, I'm fighting with this little tripod thingy I got from my GoPro. It's pointing at the ground. There we go. You should be able to see me, hopefully. Okay, so I've got my template here. Just gonna basically cut it right along my mark lines. I'm gonna cut the whole thing out first. Then I'm gonna go back and cut my arch in it. Okay, there's that cut. And that cut. Alright, now we're free from our rest of our poster board. Now we're going to take and cut our arc. Like I said, I mean, there's no rules. So you got to remember, this is your car. What do you want things to look like? How pretty do you want it to be? Etc, etc, etc. Okay, so there's our arc, basically. Alright, so now we have our template. Let's go ahead and take this over here. So there's where what we are gonna get on the side of our frame. Basically a 3-dimensional arc. Okay, it's a little bit big, which is fine because you're making it out of metal. Never hurts to be a little bit big. You can take and sand it down with a flapper disc and get everything trued up. Okay, sound good? Now I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this piece of metal I got over here and get to showing you how to put this template onto a piece of metal and what to do to cut it. Okay, here's our piece of metal. Just basically a piece of 3/16. I'm sorry, this is 1/4 inch. Basically a piece of 1/4 inch flat plate. This is not the material that we are going to make this part with. We're going to make it out of the same stuff, 3/16, but this is not the piece that we're going to make it out of because it's a small piece, and I'd rather keep this small piece here in case I need it for working on the roadster or something like that, rather than making a piece and then I don't have anything here for next time, whatever. So give me a second, folks. I put my soapstone elsewhere. Okay. I got my soapstone. Okay. It's got a slight little point on it so that way we get the better details out of stuff. Put this phone down right here. So we're going to take this template. I'm going to try to line it up on a nice little straight line here. I'm going to hold it down real good. Make me a mark here. Make me a mark here, and make my sweeping arc mark. Dunk. Dunk. I can't pick it up. Okay. So there's what we got. All right. Now, just give me a second. Let me grab something here. You go and put this 4.5 inch cutting disc on an angle grinder. Yes, that's a Harbor Freight brand. That's all I buy is the cheaper brands because we go through them so fast. I know there's better brands out there on the market that last longer, etc, 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 but you know what? I don't really worry about it. I've been using these for years. They work great. So basically, if you were going to use this, you just take and cut this guy out right here with the grinder. Take it out here with the grinder. When you go to cut this arc, your cut doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, my helper at the shop, I tell him to stay on the outside of the white line. This way you can cut it, and you'll come back in, you'll detail it up with your flapper disc. You'll get the right arc in it to the line, and then if you don't like it, you can get a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, whatever you want to do. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop today for this Fabrication Friday. I know I didn't show you a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I don't have the material here on hand, so we'll get back into it. Okay? Give me a second here to regain my composure. Alright, so we're pretty much there. You know, just keeping things stupid simple. I know I didn't give you a lot of information, but I gave you some basic information. Most important thing I can stress is that you need to make everything out of paper first before you transfer it over to metal. I guess basically the reason I would tell you so many people to do that is because it gives you a design factor. You get to sit down and you get to design it, you get to see it, you get to kind of say, oh, okay, that's the way I want it. Or no, you know what, I don't like that, it's not gonna work, whatever, and change it. You make it out of metal and you get to that point that it doesn't work, or it's not what you originally saw in your mind or whatever, then you gotta throw a piece of metal away. Paper's cheap, metal's expensive. Okay, that's number one. It helps to eliminate some of the mistakes. I don't know. So basically, let's run over what we learned today. We learned some of the basic tools that we're going to be using. There's some more stuff in there that I like to use, and we will dwell on it a little bit further in when we get into making some more videos. I use a compass quite a bit. I use dial calipers quite a bit. I don't know, I use calculator a lot for figuring out stuff. But this one was real simple. I mean, we had a 2-inch, 3-inch wide piece of material, or yeah, 3-inch wide piece of material. The part that we were going to make had a 6-inch run out on the bottom, 2-inch run out at the top, with a nice little arc in the center. Pretty simple. So we made our piece up. I showed you how to basically make the pattern, showed you how to get it cut out, showed you how to transfer it over to metal. And that's per se it for right this minute. Next Friday we will go to the shop to do this, and you know, the shop is just so much easier. Hell, I got a 4x8 sheet metal, or not sheet metal, but steel table that we do all our cut work and grind work and all this stuff on. Here I've got a little 1.5 by 1.5 square table to work on top of. No bueno. So yeah, next Friday we'll go to the shop. I'll save up my pattern, I'll put it in my truck so it doesn't get lost, I'll label it, which is something I always do. I always save all my patterns, no matter how basic the part is. I save all my patterns. I label what they are, what I use them for, and I got a drawer at the shop in my toolbox that's full of patterns in a big Ziploc bag. Now, you can ask me, Outlaw, why do you do that? One of the reasons I do that is, let's just say that I went and I built for myself, I built this 27T Roadster that the camera's sitting on the back of right now, for myself. I go out to a car show and some guy starts talking to me and he's like, man, I want you to build me a part just like this, or I want you to build me a Roadster just like this, or whatever the case may be. Well, guess what? I got a bag full of patterns for almost every part that I built to put on this Roadster. Let's go through it. Okay, there's that piece, knock it out. Okay, there's that piece, knock it out. Versus having to redesign it, rebuild it, whatever. And then you'll find out that there's some stuff that comes in really handy in there. So, that's Fabrication Friday for today. I apologize that it wasn't super duper exciting and we didn't get to see a finished part. We didn't get to see me in the work process, but next Friday for sure. So what I'll do is, for the Fabrication Friday, next week I will link this particular video in the description down below, and then somewhere over here on the sides I'll also throw a link for, you know, what it is, or for this video, so that way you can watch this video and watch that video and you put the two together and say, ah, okay, I see how he made these parts, and roll on with it from there. So that's the basics of it. Thanks for watching. I hope y'all like OutlawTV Fabrication Friday. That was a blah 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 because it really wasn't what I was going to say. Drop some comments, drop some likes, hit that subscribe button, please, folks. I'm trying to get my subscribers up there. I'm ready to do my first giveaway. I think my first giveaway at my 100 subscriber giveaway is going to be a gift card to the Bass Pro Academy. So I'm ready for that. We're right around 40 something subscribers right now. So yeah, come on guys, hit that subscribe button. And I promise you Fabrication Friday is going to get a whole lot better. Thanks for watching.